Hi everyone. Today I wanted to talk to you about virtual machines. I've creating this video because there have been several questions about virtual machines this week. To everyone that sent me questions, thank you so much. I really appreciate the questions. Please keep them coming. Requests for videos are also welcome. So if there are other things that you would find helpful, please let me know. So let's start with some basics about what a virtual machine is and what it is not. So, a virtual machine is a way for us to emulate hardware and create a new sort of fake computer within our regular computer. Now, one of the reasons that we might want to do this is so that if we have to do things like testing or experimentation, we would be able to do this in a safer way. Virtual machines also give us the ability to work with different operating systems than the one that we are already running. For example, most of you are probably running Windows or a Mac. A virtual machine gives you the ability to try out Linux. Now, some of the things that make virtual machines really nice and convenient is if something goes wrong, it's actually really easy to fix. If something goes wrong on your regular computer or what's known as the host machine, that can be really difficult to fix. And you end up having to redo the whole computer, flash the new operating system, and potentially lose a lot of your files and folders and everything that you have saved on there. What's really nice about a virtual machine is all of the work that's in the virtual machine is contained or sandboxed so that it's not going to be leaving that specific special area that you are protecting. So, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be creating virtual machines so that we can work with other operating systems in a more protected way. Now, this is being done in several classes, so I'm going to go through how to create a new virtual machine and then point it at an ISO. The computer that I'm using at home, I run Linux, so I'm running Workstation 15. If you run Windows, you are also going to be running Workstation. If you run a Mac, you're going to be using Fusion. I can't demo Fusion for you because I don't have any Mac licenses, but there are other videos of people that have done Fusion that you can follow if that's the situation that you're in. We are using VMware because the CIS department has paid for unlimited licenses for students and labs. You could also use VirtualBox, that's completely fine as well. That's free for everybody to use. VMware is only free for Northern Essex students. I have already added everybody in my classes, so you will have either gotten an email or because you got the email in a previous class, you can just go and log in with your student ID number. And I put the link to the VMware place that you get it. It's called onthehub.com. I put that link in the lab. That's the first lab you're going to be doing virtual machines in. Now, let's talk about how to set up our first virtual machine. So you can see I have cleaned everything out. So I have a completely clean install of Workstation. The first thing that I am going to do is in my home, I'm going to create a new virtual machine. Now, I'm going to keep this easy. I'm going to do typical. And what's going to end up happening here is you are going to have a window that is popping up, and that window is going to say, now you can see the window. So that window is going to say virtual machine configuration, and we're choosing typical. Sorry about that, did not realize the pop-up would not show up otherwise. So now I'm going to hit next, and I'm going to use an ISO image. Now I've already downloaded these ISOs. I'm going to start with Mint, so I'm going to do browse, And you can see in my downloads, it's actually taken out a lot of the downloads because they aren't compatible files. So I'm going to choose Linux Mint, and then I'm going to say next. This is a Linux. It doesn't really matter what you pick. You can just leave it as the default. That's fine. And then I'm going to name this Mint so that when I come back later, I'll remember what this is so that I don't just have like, Ubuntu 1, Ubuntu 2, Ubuntu 3, because that would be confusing for me. So for disk size, it doesn't matter. You can pick any of these. I just leave it on the default of split. And then I'm going to give it a quick check. 20 gigs of hard drive space, okay. Memory, 2 gigs of memory, okay. And then I'm going to say finish. Now you can see here, this is saying installing. To be clear, creating the virtual machine is sort of the equivalent of having a brand new computer. The ISO file, or disk image file, is a copy of the operating system that we wish to put on our new computer. This hasn't happened yet. I have done the equivalent of putting a disk in a drive by having it point at the ISO, but I have not done any installs. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to see that I have my machine Mint, and I'm going to want to start this up. Now, I'm getting an error because of something that's happening on my computer, but what's going to happen when you start this up is it's going to, well, hopefully not get that error, but when you start this up, it's going to start up and bring you to a desktop that's going to have a image on the desktop that says install Linux Mint. You'll double click on that image and follow those instructions. After you've done all of that, what's going to happen is you are going to do the equivalent of removing the disk, which you'll do by after the install has completed and it says please remove disk, you'll edit the virtual machine settings, go to CD DVD, and tell it to use physical drive. Then you will boot up the virtual machine again and everything should be working. Now, that's what you need to do for each virtual machine you're going to create. Linux Mint is the probably easiest one, and this is what's going to be required if you're in the info security class. You're going to need a virtual machine for Mint and a virtual machine for Kali. If you are in Linux administration, you're going to need 2 servers set up. So this was how to create a virtual machine, how to have it point at an ISO, what is an ISO, and then how to remove the ISO after you have finished doing the install. Now, I'm not going to create another video sitting through the install because that's basically just hit next, wait for a while, hit next, wait for a while, and I don't think anybody really wants to watch a video of that. But if you have any other questions, problems, or anything, please let me know, and I hope this helps with creating your first virtual machines.